Welcome to another episode of Real Talk with Illa Gezey. I am your host, Illa Gezey.
12 years, 85%. I did it. I stood on it. Thing about the streets is you can be caught up at the wrong place at the wrong time. I still got partners out there. You can't expect everybody to see things the way you see it when everybody didn't go through what you went through.
Real topics, real stories, real events. Get my real outfit. Welcome. How y'all doing? Thank y'all for coming back to support me. This is episode number 5 of Real Talk with Illa Gezey. On today's episode, this is a topic that has been in my notes for a couple weeks now. I got a lot of different topics in my notes that I'm just waiting on certain times or certain feelings to address them. And I don't know, I felt like this was a good week to address the topic of accountability. Accountability is something that a lot of people lack in, and I've been a victim of it myself. Basically, it's about taking responsibility for your own actions and consequences. A lot of people like to take responsibility for their actions, but they don't really take responsibility for the consequences that come behind their actions. It's always an excuse. It's always some type of reason why they didn't do what they did and did it right and all kind of stuff like that. So I felt like accountability could be relatable to all ages, races, locations, and it's something everybody can touch base on. So let's start first with personal accountability, man. Personal accountability is something that we all fall short on sometimes. I've been a victim of it. I'm sure you've been a victim of it. Personal accountability. Personal accountability. Be accountable for your own actions at all times. Do not try to push the responsibility or accountability off on someone else. I remember it took me a long time to start accepting responsibility and accountability for my own actions. Before I did my 15 years in prison, I was like, oh, I'm locked up because of this motherfucker here wrote a statement, or I'm locked up because this person did this wrong, or I'm locked up because this, that, and the third. I would do everything except take accountability for what I did. And it took me at least 6 years. It took me at least 6 years of being incarcerated before I took accountability for my own actions. Before I finally had said, you know what? I used to think like this, but now I think like this. Because of the simple fact that I put myself in those situations. If nobody put a gun to your head and made you do it, you put yourself in those situations. It could be a baby mama. It could be, having sex with a girl you didn't want to have sex with, but eventually you went ahead and did it. You did it under your own pretense. You wanted to do that. It could be committing a crime. It could be selling drugs. It could be speeding. No matter what it is, you always gotta accept accountability for your own actions. Now, a lot of people, we're in this snitch era where a lot of people are snitching, or it's brought to the light that a lot of people are snitching. At the end of the day, that's just part of the streets. You know what I'm saying? You ain't gonna get past that part. But the part that you can get past is, what did you do? You. Damn what the snitch did. What did you do? Did you do something for this person to tell on you about? Did you do something else to this person? Regardless of what it is, you did something, and you have to accept accountability for your own actions. It took me so long. And I guess it's about being mature at the same time, because what 18, 19, 20-year-old gonna say, you know what? I accept responsibility for what I did. they not wrong for telling on me. They did what they were supposed to do. Nobody's gonna just admit to that at that age. And it's hard for a lot of people to admit at my age. But at the end of the day, it's about just accepting responsibility, man. Accept responsibility, move on in life, and you can have so much more of your future ahead of you. You know what I'm saying? I just look at accountability as something like growth and development. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people mature slower than others. And accountability is one of those things that it'll linger around you for a long time before you finally accept it. Because it's like, when you, just say for instance, when you go into the courtroom and you get sentenced to some time, you blaming the judge, you blaming the lawyer, you blaming your co-defendants, you blaming people who wrote statements, you blaming the victims, you blaming everybody else except you. You ain't taking blame for what you did. Yeah, they might have snitched on you. Witnesses might have pointed you out. But guess what? Did you take accountability to what you did? Do you accept the actions that you made? Do you accept the consequences that came behind your actions? A lot of us don't. A lot of us are too stubborn, too prideful to even accept that. I feel like personal accountability is just like personal growth, personal maturity. You mature, you start to, know what's important in your life. You start to make the proper changes and do what's necessary for your growth, your own personal growth. And that's where personal accountability lies. Now, I think personal accountability goes hand in hand with community accountability. Community accountability is more about basically letting someone else know when they need to be held accountable for their actions. Community members need to be held accountable, whether it be the judge, whether it be a prosecutor, whether it be your mayor, county, city council, councilmen of all sorts, governor, senator. Everybody need to be held accountable within the community. Because if you voted the sheriff in and crime rate skyrocketed since he came in, he got to be held accountable. Bro, you ain't doing your job. You ain't doing it accurately. The goal is to reduce recidivism. The goal is to build trust within your community. That's why community accountability is important. We can't complain about the roads, about the lights, about property taxes. We can't complain about all these things without holding somebody accountable. A lot of people like to hold the president accountable, but that shit trickles down to your local governments as well. Someone brought to my attention the other day about, because we was talking about voting, and I told him my mama always told me mark down Democrat, 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 Democrat on the voting polls. And he was like, yeah, I heard that as well. And if I analyze it correctly, I don't think that's the right way to move. I said, break it down. He told me, how the government shutdowns work and all of this type of stuff. It's mainly because of that type of voting system. Whether you vote Republican or Democrat, you pushing all the way down the line Republican, all the way down the line Republican. Instead of that, hold certain individuals accountable. Don't just vote them in because you're a Republican and you stand by your party and you want to vote everybody in your party in, everybody in your party ain't meant to be, have your square interests at heart. I remember being in prison and I would hear, every Crip ain't your cuz, every blood ain't your blood. Stuff like that, just to let you know, like, be accountable. Hold those politicians accountable. Nobody gets a pass. Nobody gets a pass. Hold your local politicians accountable just like you hold the president accountable. Hold them accountable. You don't mind going, taking your receipt back to Walmart when something wrong. You hold them accountable. You holding them accountable when something went wrong with your order. Guess what you did? You held them accountable. Hold your local politicians accountable. Because what I don't understand is that people complain about so much, but then they do so little. Like, who are you holding responsible for the things that you're complaining about? And that's where I hold you accountable. A lot of stuff you have to hold yourself accountable. A lot of things are not nobody else's fault but yours, mine, and everyone else's. And it's up to us to make sure that we hold everyone accountable to the same standard. So community accountability and personal accountability. Both of these things are very, very important. When something goes wrong and a police ends up like that situation with ICE, and they ended up hitting that young lady, that innocent young lady, and she was in the car. Follow me. She was in the car and she was swerving her car, allegedly, to hit the ICE agent. Man, accountability is hard to accept in those types of situations, but you want to hold that person accountable for what they did. You also want to hold that officer accountable because maybe he could have did it a different way. You didn't have to shoot through the window. Maybe you could have tried something else. But at the same time, we ain't police officers. We don't know how scared they is. That's a part of the accountability, bro. Be accountable, bro. You was scared. You was just scared. You wasn't just literally just protecting yourself. You was death scared. And that's being held accountable. It's okay to be honest. Being honest is about being accountable. You can't be honest without being accountable. A third piece of accountability that I would like to touch base on is prison system accountability. Man, we could go on and on about prison system accountability because of the conditions, the rehabilitation programs, the conduct of the staff, the prices of the canteen. Who is being held accountable for the way the inmates are being treated? Who within the community, because they are a part of our community, who is being held accountable for how the inmates are being treated back there? Who's the responsible authority when it comes to inmates being beaten, raped, stabbed, and even jumped? Who's being held accountable? I remember a situation back in 2023. I believe it was around March 2023 to be exact. I was incarcerated at Manning Correctional Institution. Manning Correctional Institution had their officers come in. They did some type of little sweep. They brought 20 different officers come in, and they had a list, and they already knew who they had on their list. They came and got me and a few others separately though. And whole time I'm like, what's going on? I need to talk to somebody. Can I please talk to somebody? Please just let me talk to somebody. Let me know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. You know what they told me? Put your hand behind your back. You going to lockup. What am I going to lock up for? What did I do? I didn't know what I did. So I couldn't have been accountable because I didn't even know what the hell I did. Anyways, I didn't want to go in cuffs until I talked to the major of the warden. Guess what they did? Threw me up against the wall, put me in cuffs, and made sure they tightened them cuffs up real tight. And they walked me politely down the lockup while I'm bucking and acting crazy. They took me to lockup. And while in lockup, still in cuffs with my hands behind my back, they proceeded to slide my shorts down. I had shorts on up under my uniform. They slid my pants down and proceeded to slide my shorts down. I immediately stopped them with the cuffs on. I said, no, y'all ain't supposed to do this like this. Y'all shouldn't do this like this. This ain't how it's supposed to go. Where y'all supposed to at least have a third person here with a camera holding it. This person is just holding the cell door open, looking at y'all, taking advantage of me. You know what they did? They proceeded to take advantage. They snatched my shorts down. I immediately locked up. You know, you can lock your legs up. I locked them up. You know what they did? Throw me against the cell wall. Throw me down to the bed and throw me back against the wall until they could get the shorts down off me. They left my thumb bruised, swollen, and fractured. And guess what? Guess what about accountability? None of them was held accountable for their actions. I wrote a statement. I had investigators come talk to me. One of the investigators told me he saw how swollen my thumb was. You know what he told me? He said it's a tactic within law enforcement that they can bend your thumb up all kind of ways when you're resisting arrest. Whatever. I'll never forget that situation. I've never been, I've heard so many stories about, you know, being beaten by officers, and I've seen officers actually get in fist fights, you know what I'm saying? I've seen officers take their badge off. So they was ready to get down. They ain't even fought with the badge on, so they was already ready to take accountability for their actions because they took the badge off. They kept the badge on. It's a whole other thing. Now, to this day, it's 2026, and them officers still haven't been held accountable at Manning Correctional Institution. It was a lieutenant and a sergeant, correctional officers, both of them. It was a lieutenant and a sergeant at Manning Correctional Institution in Columbia, South Carolina in March of 2023. I did everything that I possibly could that was in my favor, trying to make sure that I hold both of those officers accountable for what they did to me. I told them after they tossed me around the room and bent my thumb up and all kind of stuff, I told them what y'all did, y'all wasn't supposed to do it like that. But guess what? They protect each other. It's hard to get accountability done and taken care of back there in prison because every man for themselves almost. But those are the situations when it comes down to accountability. Accountability within life is so important because it can broaden your perspective on everyday life. You know what I'm saying? I take accountability. I'm older now. I'm a little more mature. So I take accountability with the relationships that I messed up when I was young. I take accountability for how I treated people when I was young. I take accountability for the crimes I committed because I didn't have to do them. I could have thugged it out and did something else. So I gotta take accountability for the reason I did prison time. I did it because of the actions that I made, my own actions. Nobody put a gun in my head and said, hey, go rob this nigga. Nah, I did that on my own. So I accept responsibility. At that time, 2011, I did not accept responsibility. I only pled guilty because I had to. I did not really accept responsibility for my actions. I hope and pray that the next generation, the younger generation, are able to accept their responsibility in the things that they do, say, and within their actions. Accountability can take you far in life. It can take you down a deep hole of positivity. Or if you're not accountable, then it can basically lead you to believe everybody's against you and you're never accepting accountability for your own actions. As I wrap this up and conclude this episode of Real Talk with Illa Gezey about accountability, I just want to emphasize on the steps, and I just want to encourage everybody to be accountable. Reflect on your own accountability in different areas of your life. Figure out them areas of your life where you say, you know what, I was blaming such and such for so many years, or I was blaming such and such for what had happened, but I had never thought about taking responsibility for my own actions because I started it. It wouldn't have happened. He wouldn't have told if I didn't commit the crime. Or such and such wouldn't have told your old lady that you cheated if you never cheated. And I know some of them truths like that are hard to accept, hard to acknowledge, and hard to take accountability for. But guess what? It'll free your mind. Each one teach one, y'all. This has been another episode of Real Talk with Illa Gezey. Let's keep it real with real topics, real stories, and real events. Till next time, y'all like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you be held accountable for your actions. Nobody else gonna hold you accountable like yourself. Hold yourself accountable. Like, comment, subscribe. I can't wait to see y'all next time. Peace.